Okay, how about now? Yay. Looks like I got audio. Check, 1, 2. There we go. I fucking hate this shit. This is my first and possibly last Ask Me Anything because just when I think I know how all this shit works, as soon as you turn off your computer, everything resets and all of your connections go back to some fucking default that I never set. So, all right, now we're live. Yay. Welcome. HPUSA TV. Ronin's first Ask Me Anything. All right, now that you can hear me, let's start off with a couple questions off of the Facebook page first. So, the first question I usually get asked about stunts is always the same. And the Ghoul Father and John Mahoney both asked the same thing. What was the most dangerous stunt that I was ever, let's see, how'd they word it? Most dangerous stunt on a film that I've done. There have been a few. Probably, if you watch my demo reel, you'll see my jump out the window with on Gotham, 3 stories into an airbag, and that looks, I mean, wind and all that kind of stuff. There's stuff that can go wrong. It's a giant airbag. That was probably my most fun stunt. You do run blind and jump through the window, not being able to spot your landing until you get through the glass. Makes things a little more difficult. But that one probably wasn't the most dangerous just because I was really good at high falls. I trained in high falls a lot, and I was pretty confident going through that I was going to hit my mark, which I did. One take on that one in Gotham. Probably the one there's probably 2 that I most feared doing. I have a fear of heights. Jumping into a giant airbag, it's a little different. I can get past that. I've trained myself and worked myself past that because you got to get paid. So you better do some high falls. You got to get over that fear of heights thing. But I also did a stunt in Gotham where I did I guess it was about a 40-foot gold tail jump, which is just a descender drop where you have a line attached to your back and it slows your descent as you jump and stops you just as you land on your landing point. But it's scary as fuck because I did it jumping from the rafters of the GCPD, Gotham City Police Department, police station, and I had to land on just the floor. I didn't have any pads or anything to land onto, and we practiced it with pads, but you land on the floor. You just got to bend your knees and kind of bend your knees up and meet the ground kind of as you hit your mark. That was the scariest one because obviously being afraid of heights and just jumping down onto a granite floor from about 40 feet up, not my idea of a good time. I had to put a lot of trust in my stunt riggers that day. I hadn't worked with them before. They hadn't worked with me before. We were both new to each other, so they put me through the ringer in training. I probably did the jump 25 times the day before we shot it. Yeah, I did it a ton. And by the time we shot it, I was cool to go. But yeah, just setting up for the stunt, that was probably my scariest, most dangerous one. But again, well, maybe not the most dangerous. The other one I'm going to tell you about, probably a little more dangerous. But that one was the scariest. I wasn't as scared for this one. On the originals, when I was in Atlanta, I went through tempered glass doors. I get thrown by one of the lead vampires through tempered glass doors. And this is thick tempered glass. These are big doorway, double doors. I had never done glass work before. And everybody I know that's done glass work has gotten cut. Every coordinator that was prepping me for glass work was like, yeah, you're going to get cut. It's just a matter of how bad. Just be ready. We'll have a ambulance running right off to the side after you go through. Yeah, I mean the cool thing was I was playing like a security, like a mercenary security guard. So I had a bunch of gear on to cover me up, and then I had goggles on too, so my eyes were uh, covered. And they put like moleskin around my neck and around my wrists and stuff, around some of the vital areas to keep me from getting cut. But the coordinator told me his story. His first uh, glass gag he went through a show when he was younger, and he had split his head wide open, stitches everywhere. Uh, yeah, he got banged up. So he was preparing me for the worst, and I was ready for the worst. And so on the day we're setting up, and yeah, uh, he has the ambulance on the well outside the sound stage, and the pyro guys are rigged. So when you do a glass gag like this, there's pyro set up on the edges of the glass with little nails because you can't break that tempered glass on your own. There's explosives that go off, pop, 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 all at the same time, and that shatters the glass at the exact moment that you fly through it. So there's a lot that can go wrong. They have to hit the explosive, the pyro button at the exact second that I hit the glass. I'm about to hit the glass as I hurl myself through the glass. So cameras on the other side, coordinators on the other side of the doors. I'm on the inside of the doors. They can't see anything. Right before we do the stunt, and now, yeah, so my coordinator told me, you're going to be cut. Just stay down. You're going to have glass shards all over you. Don't get up. Don't open your eyes. Don't open your mouth. Don't do anything until I blow you off with the canned air. Because otherwise, you're going to want it's good glass going to be everywhere. And if you're bleeding, we'll have, the medic will be there. Here we go. So I'm all set. We're ready to do all this thing. He's on the other side with the medic of the door, so he doesn't see anything going on before they yell action and shoot the scene. So I'm waiting, and the makeup artist comes over to me, unbeknownst to my coordinator and the medic, and says, "We're going to put some blood on you since you're going through glass." And they put all this blood on my neck. So we set all up, and all right, you ready, Jay? All right, go ahead. In 3, 2, 1, action! Run, hurl myself at the door, pop. Glass goes off. Everything goes great. I fly through. I hit the ground. Pooh, knock the wind out of me. And the vampire comes through the door, and he says his lines while I'm laying on the ground, and then they yell, "Cut." And Jay, okay. I give the thumbs up. I keep my eyes closed and my mouth shut, and my coordinator and medic run over, and he's like, "Oh, you all right? You all right?" And he sees the blood on my neck, and it was a lot, and he was unaware. So he starts saying, "Okay, don't panic. We have a little blood. Just stay down. I can't tell where it's coming from, but you got a little blood. Let me clear you off. Don't open your mouth. Don't move. Just we're gonna get you cleaned up." And he starts spraying me off, and I can tell in his voice he's starting to panic. And then I hear the medic start calling for the ambulance guys to come in, and Dave, my coordinator, is spraying the canned air over my mouth and eyes, and finally he hits my mouth. And once he hits my mouth, I'm able to say, "It's makeup." And he says, "What?" Say, "It's makeup. It's makeup." It's like, oh my God, thank God, because it was bad. I thought you were bad. We called the medics. So a little scare for him. A little scare. Well, not as much of a scare for me. I thought it was hilarious because I knew. I was just hoping there wasn't real blood on top of the blood that they put on. But yeah, that was probably my scariest gag because he had me ready to bleed out by the time I did it, and that was my first one. But went off great. I didn't have a cut on me. I don't even think I had any scratches. I curled up into my little ball and hit that glass. Yeah, and if you go back and watch originals, I forget what season it is. I think it's the final season. You can see it there. So those were my two biggest or scariest, most dangerous stunts. Right? Let's see. Louis Moss asks, and I apologize if I pronounce anybody's names wrong, but Louis Moss asks, favorite film you have ever worked on? Um, well, I worked on Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was my favorite movie of all time, probably. One of my favorite movies of all time. Loved Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I was a huge Guardians of the Galaxy comic book fan way before it became a film. So when it became a film, I was totally excited. And then when I moved to Atlanta, they announced that Guardians 2 was casting, and the coordinator was this legend who was from Hollywood. I never went to Hollywood to become a stuntman. I went to New York because I'm from Philly. So I didn't know all the Hollywood guys, and I did not expect to get a call. I submitted, but I never expected to get a call. And I wound up getting a call from his assistant, and she booked me to play a Cree stunt monk. So 6 hours in the makeup chair. If you saw the picture, blue head, shaved head, blue prosthetics, makeup, all that, and then monk robes. And there was four of us that are at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when the mass, the giant blob, is like destroying all the worlds. When it gets to the Kree home world, you see like four blue monks running down the hill, and then the thing fucking envelops them. And yeah, I'm like on the left, yeah, on your left, I'm like the second or third one down on the left who gets swallowed. So got to work with James Gunn. Uh, Super cool guy, super cool guy, very nice. Yeah, it was great. That was probably my favorite film because part one was um, my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies to see, filled with my favorite characters, and then I got to be in part two. So Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was my favorite movie that I worked on. Right, we got a music question. I'm going to go through some of these questions. Uh, let's shoot through a couple. Anthony Noble asks, when are we getting a Voodoo Death Cult acoustic album? Voodoo Death Cult Unplugged and Unapologetic. We are never getting an acoustic album. When Atari is dead and buried, you might get it because that's the only way over his dead body that he would allow acoustic music, acoustic Voodoo Death Cult music. It's just not. It's Have you listened to Voodoo Death Cult? That is the most, you should not play this on an acoustic guitar type of music ever. I can't even fathom Skullaby on acoustic guitar. I would go John Belushi. So that'll never happen. Sorry. No offense to my acoustic guitar friends out there. No offense. It's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. All right. David Merrill, when will you finally bring me pictures of Spider-Man? Soon. They're coming. Soon. I'm working on it. The wall crawler, he's a sneaky one. He's quick. He gets out of those pics quick. I wind up with just like a shadow or something when I try and get him. All right. We got Dichotomy, Planting the Seeds, plans for a giant HPUSA horror festival. Yeah, well, we're working our way up to it. We are obviously with Slasher Fest and now Ramones Gore and, Pretty and Punk and, Hellaware. We got a bunch of them. We're putting a bunch of them out there. We'll see which ones start to take off, I guess, as the bigger ones, and see where we start to bring in the bigger names. That's going to be the deciding factor is when these bigger bands want to work with us. I guess we're still in our proving stage, I guess, to show some of these bigger bands agents that we're legit. Hopefully, as we come out of the pandemic and we have bands like the Queers on our shows, it'll help bring some of these other bands out of the woodwork to actually work with us. I've reached out to a bunch of agents for really big punk, horror punk, metal bands, and it's usually just like, oh yeah, they're just kind of booked already. They're brushing this off. So, all right, we'll get to the big sandbox soon. We don't mind. We're sitting at the kids' table right now, but we'll get there. Nobody thought we'd be where we're at right now 3 years ago when all this started either. So it's coming. And one more from Dichotomy. How did you get into? What made you want to join the stunt business? Oh man, that's going to give away my age a little bit. So like the very first thing I ever wanted to be as a kid was a stuntman because I grew up watching this show called The Fall Guy. And I'm familiar with The Fall Guy. It's from the 70s. It was about a stuntman / bounty hunter. So you got all these inside looks at behind the scenes in movies. That was my first like peek behind the curtain, so to speak. And yeah, man, I love that show. That was the very first thing I ever remember wanting to be was a stuntman. And how many people can say that they actually, fulfilled that dream. So um, yeah, kind of cool. Second thing I ever wanted to be was a rock star because I got Kiss Alive too, probably right about the same time. But I guess working on that second dream right now. But first one accomplished. The Fall Guy, Colt Seavers. Uh, yeah, that's what made me want to be a stuntman. And then, of course, when I got older, Jackie Chan movies, martial arts movies, Donnie Yen, all that stuff. I mean, I was, when you're a kid and you live in Philadelphia and you want to be a stuntman, the first thing people tell you is, "You're an idiot. You don't live in Hollywood. You can't do that." Always quick to tell you what you can't do. But as I got older, and I guess I was in my late mid 20s ish, that's when I kind of realized, shit, I could go to New York and be a stuntman. I don't have to go to Hollywood. Fuck Hollywood. No offense, Hollywood people. Everybody telling you have to go to Hollywood all your life or you can't do something, and then you realize, no, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Yeah, so Jackie Chan movies, Donnie Yen, um, Shaw Brothers movies. I was a big martial arts guy. Five Deadly Venoms was my favorite martial arts movie of all time. Uh, so that kind of stuff got me in there too. And we were doing like sketch comedy stuff on YouTube before it was big, and decided to start doing kung fu spoofs because a few of us had martial arts backgrounds, and we were doing like kung fu comedy type stuff with bad overdubs. And next thing you know, we were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna do stunts." And a handful of us just decided we were going to train ourselves and work our asses off and kick the door down and become stuntmen. And sure enough, a bunch of us are fucking stuntmen now. So we owe a lot to Jackie Chan and his behind the scenes and that whole Jackie Chan making of. Um, Jackie Chan's My Stunts because we saw a lot of that stuff there too. Learned about fight choreography and all that through Jackie. So very cool stuff. All right, Wayne Smith, is there a need interest for another horror punk bracket? I've got mixed feelings on this one, Wayne. While I do enjoy the horror punk bracket. It also kind of puts the bands against each other. Uh, kind of vying for our own um, scene's attention, and we're already a small scene. So I guess maybe once a year, I would say let's do one. Maybe just so we can crown a king, and um, yeah, maybe once a year do a horror punk bracket. But I'd rather see horror punk bands be included with brackets if they're punk leaning band or a metal leaning band, be included with just regular punk and metal leaning bands as well. Because horror punk has been like shunned and pushed aside and put in the corner and been the fucking bastard stepchild of the music scene for way too long. So Horror Punks USA's mission is to push us into the mainstream punk and metal scenes more. So that being the goal, I would rather personally see more horror punk bands worked in with some of the regular bands, regular punk, regular metal bands in those bracket challenges. That way we can bring in some other fans who might not listen. Everybody, we got the horror punks already. We got our hardcore already. We got to start bringing in the fringe people so we can make this scene bigger and more self-sustaining. That's the word I'm looking for. Make sense? All right. Let's see. So moving on. All right. So that I think finishes the questions there. Let's see where else we have them on here. Let's see. Well, we got to do a couple questions on here. So, Kevin Corville asks, "What martial arts are you trained in?" Okay, so I am trained in many and master of none, zero. But I wasn't really like, so I trained in Taekwondo when I was young, and I trained in Taekwondo mainly again when I started doing stunt work, where I started pursuing stunt work, I should say. That was my main discipline. But I also branched out and did Shaolin Five Animals Kung Fu, Wushu. I was doing that for a couple years. I did capoeira for a little while. Wing Chun. I was doing Wing Chun Kung Fu for a little while. Um, each discipline I would spend a couple years so I can get a lot of the basics down. The idea was that I wanted to have all that stuff in my arsenal. So if uh, a movie if it was a kung fu movie, I could do kung fu fighting basics. I could go in and do kung fu choreography. If it was a more straight karate, harder style, I could do a harder style. If you wanted more of a, whatever it was, I could do the basics enough, the fundamentals enough to uh, to fake it on camera. But if I got in a real fight, I would use Taekwondo, most likely, or Wing Chun, depending on my opponent and how aggressive they were. Kicks from Taekwondo and probably parrying and locks and stuff like that from Wing Chun. But then I was also trained in parkour. I did a lot of parkour stuff because parkour was huge in movies back then. So we did a bunch of that. That was kind of how we got in because we were fighters that did a lot of parkour, and we were right at the precipice of the parkour fad. Just after Andre Foucan did that scene in Casino Royale, James Bond there, and everybody all of a sudden was like, "Oh my God, I need parkour in my commercial and my movie and my music video and that parkour, parkour, parkour." So yeah, we were like the Philly parkour guys. So there weren't a lot of parkour guys in stunts at the very beginning because a lot of Americans didn't even know what the fuck it was. So yeah, we kind of got a little break that way as well. So that kind of got us in there as well. Let's see what else we got. Let's take a couple from here. Oh, I got Louis' name right. Cool. What would be your dream lineup for VDC to play with one day? Oh, Steph Infection asks for Voodoo dream lineup. Fuck, man. Oh, any fucking band. Oh man. I guess we got to have Wednesday 13 on the bill. We got to have. I want a white zombie reunion, not Rob Zombie. I want a white zombie reunion to headline this fantasy show that I get to have a dream lineup for. All right, there you go. I want white zombie, Wednesday 13, Cancer Slug, Midnight, and Voodoo Death Cult. There you go. How's that? Make sense? I was trying to keep it in the realm of the heavier type stuff, heavier type bands. So there you go. All right, let's see. Would you ever do a video demo of your MA skills, Kevin Cordell? Probably not at this point. I am so far out of practice, Kevin. I haven't trained. I haven't even worked out. I barely stretch. I am so wrapped up um, because of the pandemic too. I mean, like this last year and a half, I haven't really been pursuing much stunt work because I have so much going on with the studio and so much going on with uh, HPUSA and so much going on with the band and everything else. And now we have the show that we're producing and everything on HPUSA TV with Dickie Devil. Just have so much coming up. But the other thing is that they're very strict right now, and there's not a ton filming, and it doesn't film in Philadelphia. So if I want to work, I have to go to New York. And to go work in New York, they want you to quarantine for 7 days in a hotel before you work. And I can't afford to quarantine or any of that kind of stuff yet. So I'm not really, and I'm doing okay with this stuff. We're rolling along pretty good. So I do have some stuff coming up. I will be working. I believe I'm still going to be working with Trauma for Kabuki Man Returns later this year. Once that goes into production, we did the trailer last year before way before quarantine, actually. That's been held up. We shot the trailer, and then we were supposed to go into production, and it's been held up because of COVID, of course. But we'll be Kabuki Man is returning, so I'll be on that. I know I'm on that one. Other than that, I'm not really out even hustling stunt jobs right now. As you see, we have our own stuff going on here, and we're doing okay. So cool. I'm not worried about it. Eventually, I'll be back to working on some more stuff. Let's see. Man, y'all are starting to get some crazy questions for me here. All right. Who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman from Raoul and the Dukes? Oh, man. Mm, mm, mm. Let's just launch them both into the sun. How about that? I don't know. That's a draw. Uh, I mean, Superman's only vulnerability is magic. Well, I guess does Goku? Yeah, the fucking Dragon Balls are magic, aren't they? So Goku gets his power from magic, technically. So therefore, Goku would beat Superman, right? Am I right? I don't watch a lot of Dragon Ball, but when I do watch it, it's mostly just ah. Cut to the other guy. Ah. But if he gets his power from magic Dragon Balls, then he will beat Superman. All right. We ever see a triple threat between Dickie, Atari Skull Devil, and you? The fans are waiting. I don't know. Dickie and Atari don't like to be in the same room together because of the whole Steph infection thing, obviously. So I don't know if that's a possibility. You may see me with each of them at some point. Um, at least you'll see me with Dickie. Obviously, it'd be kind of tough to see me with Atari, but we'll see. Steph Infection asks, if you were God, what would your dog to human ratio be? What a good question. My dog to human ratio would be like 3-1. 3-1. 3-1, the dogs would outnumber us. Yeah, I think that would be good. 3-1 should be good. There's way too many fucking humans on this planet. We fuck everything up. I think put it in the hands of the dogs. Puppers for president. All that good stuff. All right. Self-meme training. What do you do to stay in shape for stunts? Any specific exercise routine you find to help with stunts and shows? The biggest thing is stretching. Learning how to fall. So I wasn't big on like a lot of the jujitsu and a lot of the grappling stuff because that never looked good on camera to me anyway. So I never really got deep into it because I never planned on rolling around on camera, even though now UFC is popular and people are doing that stuff on camera. It was never my thing, and I never really. I was always a stand-up fighter, and I always enjoyed stand-up fighting. I don't like to grapple. But one of the things you do train in and helps for stunts is something like jiu-jitsu or judo, where they teach you how to fall, where you learn how to fall, where you learn how to slap out and spread the impact out with your hands and feet, and learn to hit certain areas, absorb on your back. The high part of your back absorbs the most, take the most punishment, stuff like that. Learning to tuck your chin when you hit the ground. Obviously, there's a lot to falling. I can't tell you how many times I've heard some dumbass, and I'm not afraid to say this because I don't, I used to be afraid to say certain things because you got to be very PC and you got to be very polite in stunts because your livelihood depends on it. But I don't give a fuck anymore. Fuck half those people. I've had directors literally say to an actress who has asked for a stunt double and asked to have me on set for his little fucking movie when they don't have a stunt coordinator. And I want a stunt coordinator for this fall or this fight or this whatever. And the director says, you're just falling down. How hard is that? Well, I had a girl, I won't say what, she got seriously injured because they didn't bring a stunt coordinator to set. They had an actress who had trained in stunts before, but did not have an actual stunt coordinator on set do a simple fall in the woods, and I think she dislocated her hip, is what it was. Yeah, and couldn't walk for months. Months couldn't walk and lost tons of work because of it. So learning to fall is hugely important. You have to beat your body up. My body has taken so much abuse over the last 15 years. I ache when I wake up. Everything hurts nowadays. I wouldn't trade any of it though. So, but yeah, you got to get your body ready, learn how to fall, learn a thing called air awareness. Gymnastics is another thing you will want to train in. If you have like gymnasts often make great stunt people. Um, Divers make often do like professional divers, high dive stuff because they have great body control and air awareness. Air awareness is something that you need to be able to make adjustments without any part of your body on the ground. You need to know how to adjust because something could go wrong mid stunt and you're in the air and all of a sudden your trajectory is bringing you in at a rate where you're going to break your fucking neck. And you need to know how to adjust and get out of that position without a foot, a hand, nothing touching the ground. You need to be able to move yourself around in the air on your own. So, yeah, jujitsu, parkour, gymnastics, stuff like that. That'll give you your air awareness, learn to fall, that kind of stuff. Right? Stuff, Dog Island details, that'll come later. And even my final form yet. Kevin Corville asks, if you could work with any director, living or dead, who would you want to work with the most? John Carpenter. I don't even have to think too long on that one. John Carpenter. One of my favorite directors. His movies scare the shit out of me, but then he also knows how to do action. He's great with fucking characters. Big Trouble in Little China is probably one of my top 3 movies of all time, easily. Yeah, that's yeah, definitely John Carpenter. I've gotten to work with James Gunn, so that was cool. He would be another one, but that one's off the bucket list. Obviously, George Romero would be one I'd like to work with if I have the choice, living or dead. How about undead? Can I get an undead Romero to come back from the grave and direct as a zombie? That'd be cool, right? Let's see. I'm going to jump to some Facebook questions here. Do we have anything? Give me a sec, guys. Bear with me. Dangerous stunt. That was Joey. Got that one already. Let's see. What else y'all want to know? Rocket to Rush is probably my favorite Ramones album. Yeah, that's probably for Raul and the Dukes. That's probably it. Some more questions. Sorry, guys. I know they're there. I just have to find them on my page. There we go. Oh, just comments. Thank you, everybody, for the comments and compliments on the Facebook pages. If you had to play either Snake Plissken or Jack Burton in a remake, which one would you rather play? All right, I'm gonna if I had to, because I don't think either movie should be remade. If I had to play one, it would be Jack Burton. I used to do the Pork Chop Express monologue when I would audition, because I would get called audition for acting jobs as well. I was a co-star on Gotham, if you didn't catch that. As a biker, I had some lines. They were like, sometimes they would have us act. If a stunt person could also act nowadays, you're a stunt actor, and they're becoming a little more common because production is getting more cheap, so they don't want to pay an actor and a stunt double to come and do the job that one person could do, especially if it's only a few lines. So I've been hired quite a few times as a stunt actor. I've gotten to say a few lines and then get my ass kicked. So that's That's what I did on Gotham. I was a biker, big black beard, leather vest, and all that kind of stuff. It's in one of my reels. I think it's at the beginning of my stunt demo, my performer's reel. So yeah, I do have a little bit of acting experience, but that's what I would do when I would get a call and they would have me come in and audition. If they didn't give me lines, if they just said come in with your own monologue, or if I had to videotape, self-tape my own, I would do the Pork Chop Express. Jack Burton, Jack Pliskin. There you go. I'll play Jack Pliskin, and I will drive the Pork Chop Express out of New York. How's that for a fucking mashup movie? Any other questions out there? Hmm? Scrolling here. Well, you all want to talk about? It's 12:45. I'll hang out for a little bit longer. Oh shit! You know what? I need some water. Excuse me for a second, folks. Talking all this time and dichotomy. Y'all want to talk Devil's Reign? Because I'll talk Devil's Reign. I hate that everybody fucking shits on that album. Yes, there are quite a few bad songs on that album, but there are quite a few good songs on that album too. Devil's Reign is here's a fun fact. Devil's Reign is the album that got me back into playing music after I quit and walked away from music to pursue stunts a long, long, long time ago. I quit. I had so many bad experiences in the music business. Bands, as a producer, I was working in hip hop for a little while, doing beats for people and stuff. And I just had so many bad experiences. I was like, fuck this. I hit a certain age and I was like, I'm done. I need to pursue something else. And I did. I went and I started pursuing stunts. And I guess 8 years into my stunt career, I was on Facebook one day and I saw the ad for the new Misfits Devil's Reign album. And being a huge Misfits fan from the original Misfits, I mean, they played all over Philly when I was a little skater back in Philly. I would go to shows and then fucking, you know, OG Misfits Glenn, not the fucking Graves bullshit. But yeah, I saw the Devil's Reign ad and I was like, oh, what is this? A new Misfits album? Let me go check it out. And I started listening to it, and Jerry's voice is doctored pretty well on there, so it did have a good crooner quality to it. It was like that low crooner, which I missed when they switched to Graves, and I never got into Graves because he was just the high pitched voice that never fit the Misfits to me. And it didn't, not to say he was a bad singer, I just never that style of singing just never fit the Misfits for me because I was an OG. So when I heard Jerry singing, that was way closer to what I associated with the Misfits than what the Graves era was. So I liked it. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. Now, not every song was a winner, but there were some great songs on there. Unexplained is a good one. I love the Devil's Reign title track. There's a bunch. There's a bunch on there that I really dug. But that's what made me get back into listening to music, because I dug that album so much, and I was riding. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, so I ride a lot. And during this time when I stopped playing music and I was riding and pursuing stunts, I didn't really listen to much music. I listened to soundtracks. I would ride my bike and listen to like the Tron Legacy soundtrack, or like I listened to like the Halo soundtrack, or I would make mixes to work out to with like video game songs and movie soundtrack songs and all this other stuff, because I found that to be way more inspiring for me to to go do what I was going to do, ride my bike or work out or do whatever I was going to do, driving, whatever. But yeah, Devil's Reign brought me back. and that actually brought me back to playing music too, because Devil's Reign is what inspired Action Man. I listening to the Devil's Reign album and loving it. And next thing I know, the Misfits were playing on Devil's Night in Philly on Mischief Night in Philly at the TLA. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to get tickets. I haven't been to a show for 10 years, whatever it was at the time, probably longer than that. So I bought tickets and went and saw Jerry's Misfits with Dez. Yeah, they were great, man. I dug it. It brought me back into the fold of horror punk and music in general. Uh, yeah, and then the one thing after that show, Jerry sat at the edge of the stage and took pictures with and shook hands with and talked to every single person that wanted to talk to him and wanted to meet him. He was a super fucking nice guy, and don't ever say anything bad about Uncle Jerry around me because I've never seen anything bad out of that guy with my own eyes. You can talk, say whatever you want that goes on behind the scenes and all that stuff, but I tend to judge people on what I see with my own eyes, and that's a stand-up guy. So, whatever you think of his singing, Devil's Reign was the album that brought me back into the fold. So there's a fun fact for y'all. If you could front any of the main four horror punk bands, which one? Oh God, Kevin. You're just trying to get me like in trouble. You like trying to pit me against other bands. You know. Oh man. Let's see. How do I say this? What's I'll just push one of them. I'll just push my band to be one of the five major main horror punk bands. How about that? We'll say that Voodoo Death Cult is going to push to become one of the big horror punk bands that helps us break through to the other side. All right, along with a bunch of the other bands that I know are our contemporaries here today. I'm not going to list any names or say any names because I'm going to forget people, and I fucking hate when I do that, man. I always hate when I forget people, and I'm old, and I've been hit in the head a lot, and my memory sucks, and I always forget people, and I apologize in advance because I'll do it again. Yeah, I've reached out, Dichotomy. I've reached out to try and get the Jerry Misfits on an HPUSA show, but once they started doing the OG shows, they stopped booking Jerry's Misfits. And yeah, that's why I like the Devil's Reign album as well too, because it definitely had a '50s vibe, and I definitely appreciate that. And I went back and wound up getting that after hearing that the '50s project, which I thought was awesome. Oh yeah, I see, Kev. So being as that much of a fan, I want to sing for them. I've already gotten to sing with one of my favorite horror punk bands, and I got to sing my favorite song by them with them on stage on Friday the 13th, a couple years ago. If you go on to HPUSA, you'll see I was asked by Voice of Doom to join them on stage for Trilogy of Terror. Um, my favorite, one of my favorite, I should say, Voice of Doom songs. But yeah, if I was going to be asked to sing a song, that would be the one that I would want to do. So yeah, I got to do that with them. Who else? Let's see. I mean, I'll join any of my buddies on stage or on a recording if they ask me. I do have some recordings with some prominent people in the scene that will be coming soon. I'm not going to give away any surprises yet, but there's some stuff on the way. Yeah, so I would rather not necessarily. I like joining the people on stage. Um, Although, all right, let's see. Only, how about this one though? I will say, not that I want to replace Alex, but if I could replace Alex for one song and sing Dilligaff, Do I Look Like I Give a Fuck? And I Hate Your Kids, that's what I would want to do. Just for the sheer feeling of the the catharsis of belting those words out at the top of my lungs, that would be it. I don't give a fuck. Do I look like I give a fuck? And I hate your kids. Those would be the two songs that I would want to jump up and sing because I am a fan, but also because of the catharsis that I would get from belting those out. How's that? Dichotomy. Yeah, I'm a fan of the Rosedales. Yeah, and they definitely have that bit of that 50s vibe that I dig as well. That we talked about on the Devil's Reign album. Um, yeah, one of the things I like about Dickie Devil. It's one of the things I like about the Memphis Murder Men. I dig that old school vibe. So yeah, maybe we should talk about an HPUSA show where we pull all them guys together, a bunch of the old vibe bands all on the same bill. That'd be cool. All right, guys, it's been Jesus an hour, just about, right? Man, you've been going for a little while. I can talk. I apologize. Well, hopefully that answers everybody's questions. Last few minutes, I'm going to plug stuff here. Um, Obviously, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe and follow us on Horror Punks USA TV on Facebook and all that stuff. Horror Punks USA, HPUSA TV, the Movies and Music Group. Follow all the bands. Shout out to all the bands. We have so many shows coming up. I have been so swamped and busy with stuff. The real reason I did this live Ask Me Anything is because I didn't have a video ready for today. And last night at like 9 o'clock, I turned to Steph Infection. I was like, it's me tomorrow, isn't it? Yep, it is. So you got this. Yeah, I'm swamped, and there's a bunch coming up. So hopefully we see you all at shows soon. We got big stuff coming up with Andrew Brynjarski and the Deadsville Rock and Roll Mysteries. I mean, we have huge stuff coming up with that I can't even really discuss yet. So, but we are in production on that, and it will be fun. If you can imagine Scooby Doo meets like, well, it's going to be live action. The Deadsville Deviants are like a Scooby gang per se, except their Scooby is from hell. He's a ornery hell dog, hellhound, and they solve mysteries. So hilarity should ensue. We'll have guest cameos, guest stars, which may or may not include horror celebrities. We'll see. We got a lot of stuff in the works. But the main thing we're doing, though, is trying to push this whole movement forward. So if you have friends who like horror movies, if you have friends that like horror music, turn them on to the HPUSA scene. If you see people talking about horror movies or a horror movie and they're not part of the scene, and you say, oh, yeah, they're talking about a movie that's about a song that they might like, push that shit, man. Oh, yeah, you ever hear this song? It's about that movie you're talking about. When Dickie Devil released that Sabrina song, I went in and started dropping the video in a bunch of Sabrina fan groups. And it helps, stuff like that. That's how you start pushing and branching out. So if you horror punks are tired of being the bastard stepchildren pushed into the corner of the punk scene and the metal scene, let's do something about it. Let's keep pushing our shit, because anybody that likes horror movies should be listening to our music. Right? And yes, there's a large spectrum of horror punk music. Some of it is very polished. Some of it is very raw. Everybody has different tastes. Some might think this is great. Some might think it's shit. Bands should always strive to evolve and get better and put out better material. That's always going to make our scene look better. The more bands are putting out quality recordings, the more bands are hitting the road and supporting those quality recordings and promoting That's going to help the scene grow. Push to the horror community. If you notice what we're doing here now with our shows, we are starting to book horror celebrities to come and hang out. Even like B-list horror celebrities, D-list horror celebrities, horror fans who go to cons and will pay $50 for an autograph. You don't think they'll pay $10 to come to a show and then pay another $10 for that D-list celebrity's autograph? That's how we're going to bring people in. That's how we're going to start making this bigger, how it should be. So we don't get relegated to the side as a fucking joke genre anymore. I don't even think there is a horror punk sound per se. Horror punk is an attitude, and I know this has been said before, and I know it's always up for debate. And I know there's, you're always going to have these purists and elitists and the fucking gatekeepers and all those fucking people that want to keep it just this little. And what I say to all those people is, fuck you. Fuck the gatekeepers. Fuck the purists. That's why this shit isn't bigger than it is. That's why this shit almost died. That's why, people laugh about horror punk or just scoff it as shit music with people in panda paint. Horror punk can do better. The musicians can do better. The recordings can be better. The promotions can be way better. Way better. It's great that we have our hardcore community. We love our hardcore community. We love all you fiends out there, all of our freaks. But in order for this scene to grow, we got to get outside of just you guys. And we got to start pulling in fringe people. That's how this works. So if you're in a band, make sure you start pushing other stuff, pushing to other genres, if you're a punk leaning band, start sharing your stuff in punk groups, not just horror punk groups. If you're a metal leaning band, share that shit in metal groups, not just horror punk groups. Again, this is, you're going to bring in more people and different types of people. Yes, it's going to open up the genre. The gatekeepers are going to be pissed off. The elitists are going to be pissed off, but it's going to make the scene more self-sustaining. The bands will actually be able to go out and make money playing at shows. We'll actually have a circuit of clubs that we can go play at all across the country if we all work together. It's up to you guys. We're putting in the work here. And I know our affiliates from Cali to Canada are putting in the work. So let's keep doing it. Stay spooky. All that good stuff. We love all of you, and we got to make this bigger. HPUSA TV is the next step for us. We're going to start bringing in more horror fans, and as they watch the stuff as we get more shows that aren't necessarily pointed at the music, the people that are looking for movie or toy or the original content stuff will also find the music. It's that easy. All right, y'all. I've been talking too long. I'm going to get out of here. Y'all have a good Monday, and we'll see you soon. Stay spooky.